Sophia never imagined her life would spiral into chaos overnight. One moment she was sipping coffee in her small apartment, scrolling through job postings, and the next her mother was rattling off an ultimatum. "You're marrying Alessio Romano." It settled. Alessio Romano, the name alone sent shivers down her spine. Billionaire Mafia boss. Feared in every corner of the city. And now he was supposed to be her future husband. "No," Sophia said firmly, her hands trembling. "I can't, won't, marry him. I don't even know him." Her mother's face hardened. "You don't have a choice. Our debts, our lives, everything depends on this. Alessio has spoken. You will obey." Sophia's heart raced. She had heard rumors, how he dealt with those who defied him. Kidnappings, threats, disappearances. She swallowed, trying to mask her fear with defiance. "I will find another way. There has to be another way." Her father shook his head silently. He too knew the cost of crossing a mafia king. Sophia realized then that she was truly alone. The announcement was made publicly that evening. Alessio arrived at the Romano estate, his presence magnetic, terrifying, impossible to ignore. He was impeccably dressed, dark eyes scanning the room, a subtle smirk tugging at his lips as if he already knew how this night would unfold. When their eyes met, Sophia felt a jolt run through her body. He didn't speak at first, just observed. And in that silent moment she understood. Alessio Romano didn't ask. He claimed. Finally he stepped closer, his voice low, smooth and filled with authority. "You will be mine. There is no negotiation, no argument. You belong to me now." Sophia's throat tightened. She wanted to run, to scream, to protest. But a part of her, a small, stubborn spark, refused to bow so easily. Alessio's smirk deepened as he studied her resistance. "Good," he murmured. "I like a challenge." Fear and fury collided in Sophia's chest. She knew this was only the beginning, and that her life had just been irrevocably changed. Sophia had hoped the night would end quietly, that somehow she could escape the shadow of Alessio Romano. But hope is a luxury she no longer had. Before she could slip out of the estate, dark figures emerged from the corners, silent and precise. Her heart pounded. She tried to scream, but strong hands covered her mouth, pulling her into a sleek black car waiting outside. "Let me go," she shouted, kicking, but they only tightened their grip. Panic surged, but Alessio's presence, sudden, magnetic, stopped her mid-struggle. He stepped forward, calm, dangerous and terrifyingly composed. His dark eyes bore into hers, unflinching. "Sophia," he said softly, almost hypnotically, "I warned you. You belong to me. Why you can't just—" she stammered, trying to resist. But the truth sank in. Alessio didn't ask. He commanded. And no one defied him. The car sped through the city streets and Sophia's mind raced. Escape seemed impossible. Fear and fury twisted inside her. Why her? Why was her life being dictated by a man she barely knew? Finally they arrived at a towering, luxurious penthouse. Its windows reflected the city lights like cold stars. Alessio opened the door and stepped aside, giving her an almost regal entrance, yet every movement screamed control. "Your new home," he said, voice low, velvety but edged with steel. "You're safe here, from the world and from yourself." Sophia's stomach churned. She didn't feel safe. She felt trapped. Yet there was something in the way he watched her, something possessive and unyielding, that made her pulse quicken despite her fear. She realized, with a sinking heart, that this was no ordinary marriage. This was a claim. A warning. Alessio Romano didn't just want her compliance, he wanted her. Every part of her. Her lips trembled. "I will never," she began. He stepped closer, stopping just short of touching her. "You will," he said softly. "Or you'll learn the consequences." Sophia swallowed hard. Her rebellion had begun, but so had her nightmare. And the man who would control it all was impossible to ignore. The penthouse was breathtaking. Marble floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, a city skyline that stretched endlessly. But Sophia didn't notice the luxury. She noticed the walls, cold and high, reflecting the life she hadn't chosen. Alessio watched her every move. Not with malice, but with a possessive intensity that made her skin prickle. "Make yourself at home," he said, voice low and commanding, "but remember, you are mine." Sophia's lips pressed into a thin line. "Mine." The word echoed in her mind, a mix of threat and promise she couldn't ignore. She unpacked her small bag silently, avoiding his gaze. Every now and then she caught him studying her from across the room, as if he was calculating her next move, waiting for her resistance to crack. That evening, Alessio brought her dinner himself. She had expected arrogance or cruelty, but instead, he placed the tray on the table carefully, like someone tending to fragile porcelain. "You don't have to eat," he said, his dark eyes lingering on her. "But you will. You need strength." Sophia bristled at the control woven into even the smallest gestures. "I don't need your concern," she snapped, though her voice quivered. He didn't react with anger. He only tilted his head, amused. "Defiance suits you," he murmured. "It makes claiming you more satisfying." Hours passed. Alessio remained near, not intrusive but unyielding. She realized he wasn't just watching her, he was protecting her. From what she didn't yet know. But the thought stirred something she didn't want to admit: relief. When she finally went to bed, Alessio was still in the living room, quietly reading. The soft lamplight framed his sharp features, making him look almost human. Dangerous, yes. Possessive, certainly. But in some unfathomable way also comforting. Sophia lay awake, mind racing. She had resisted everything he stood for: wealth, power, fear. And yet, in this opulent prison, she couldn't shake the pull of his presence. Alessio Romano had claimed her, not just her body but her world. And she was beginning to understand. This battle was far from over. But deep inside, a tiny spark of curiosity refused to die. Sophia's days in the penthouse began to blur together. Opulent surroundings, endless rules, and Alessio's silent, omnipresent gaze. She tried to assert herself, refusing meals at the hours he dictated, ignoring his calls, even attempting to step out alone. But every move was anticipated. "You're going out?" Alessio's voice cut through the silence, smooth but firm like silk over steel. She froze, turning to face him. I just need some air," she said, forcing calm into her tone. He stepped closer, dark eyes narrowing. "You'll go where I allow. You'll see who you meet, what you wear, and how long you stay. This isn't negotiation, Sophia. It's my world, and you are a part of it." Her chest tightened. She wanted to scream, to run, but she realized he meant every word. The city outside glittered like freedom, but she was trapped in a gilded cage. Over the next days, Alessio's control became more evident. He chose her clothes, dictated her schedule, and even screened visitors. Friends she had once trusted were now distant memories. Every action had a boundary, every freedom restricted. Sophia lashed out verbally, letting anger and frustration spill. "You can't just own me," she snapped one evening, standing in the lavish kitchen while he quietly watched. Alessio smirked, unfazed. "I don't own you. I claim you. There's a difference. One is temporary, the other eternal." His tone was teasing but edged with steel. "And I always get what I claim." Fear and frustration churned inside her. Yet beneath it, an undeniable truth gnawed at her. He was watching out for her, keeping dangers at bay, controlling chaos she hadn't even realized existed. Sophia clenched her fists. She would not submit easily. But Alessio had made it clear, he didn't take defiance lightly. Every act of rebellion was met with subtle, calculated power. That night, as she stared at the city lights from her bedroom window, she realized the truth. This was more than a battle of wills. It was a game she couldn't afford to lose. And Alessio Romano had all the pieces. The penthouse was quiet, the city's lights casting long shadows across the marble floors. Sophia tried to ignore the unease crawling up her spine, but the day's tension followed her like a shadow. Alessio appeared as if from nowhere, leaning against the doorway. "You've had a long day," he murmured, voice low and dangerous, yet strangely soft. "It's time to rest." Sophia's pulse spiked. She wanted to argue, to storm past him, but she found herself rooted to the spot. His presence demanded attention, commanded obedience, and yet, there was a strange warmth hidden beneath the steel. "I don't need you to watch over me," she said, voice trembling slightly, more than she intended. He stepped closer, the faint scent of expensive cologne filling her senses. "I don't watch over you because you need me," he replied. "I watch because I want to. Because no one else will touch you without my permission." Her heart hammered in her chest. Fear, frustration, and something else, something she refused to name, twisted inside her. That night, he didn't force himself into her space, didn't make demands. Instead, he hovered near, a silent guardian, letting her feel his presence without touching. And in that restraint there was power, absolute, overwhelming. When she finally turned to leave the room, Alessio's hand shot out, stopping her. "Sit," he commanded softly. His dark eyes bore into hers, possessive and intense. "We need to understand each other. You need to know who you're dealing with. Sophia hesitated, then sank into the chair, mind racing. He wasn't cruel, not tonight. But every word, every look, held the weight of a man used to being obeyed. He knelt slightly, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from him. "You're mine, Sophia," he whispered. "Not because I demand it, but because I chose you. And I will protect you no matter what." Sophia swallowed hard, torn between rebellion and an unfamiliar flutter in her chest. Fear and fascination collided. Alessio Romano was a storm she could neither control nor escape, and the first night had only confirmed one terrifying truth: she was completely, irrevocably caught in his world. Sophia woke to silence, not the heavy, suffocating kind, but a calm she hadn't felt since arriving at the penthouse. Sunlight streamed through the curtains. On the bedside table sat a cup of coffee, warm exactly how she liked it. She stared at it, unsettled. She hadn't told Alessio how she took her coffee. Throughout the day she noticed small things. Her favorite music playing softly in the background. A book she once mentioned in passing placed on the couch. Guards positioned discreetly, not watching her but watching everything else. That evening she finally confronted him. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. Alessio looked up from his phone, studying her like a puzzle he already knew how to solve. "Because you're under my protection now. And because I don't neglect what's mine." She bristled at the word, yet her voice softened. "Protection doesn't mean control." A shadow crossed his face. For the first time he looked tired. "In my world, control is protection. The moment I loosen my grip, you become a target." Sophia hesitated. "A target? Of who?" He stood, moving closer, his voice dropping. "Men who would use you to hurt me. Enemies who don't play by rules. I won't let that happen." For the first time, fear wasn't aimed at him, but at the world beyond his walls. Later that night, danger arrived without warning. A suspicious vehicle lingered outside the building. Alessio reacted instantly, orders barked, security tightened, windows locked. He placed himself in front of Sophia without hesitation. "Stay behind me," he commanded. She did. Without thinking. The threat passed quickly, but the silence afterward felt heavier than before. Alessio turned to her, searching her face. "This is why," he said quietly. Sophia's heart pounded. She realized then, his possessiveness wasn't just obsession. It was fear. Fear of loss. Fear of failure. She met his gaze, something shifting inside her. "You didn't have to stand in front of me," she said softly. His jaw tightened. "Yes," he replied. "I did." And in that moment, Sophia saw past the mafia boss, and into the man beneath the armor. Sophia had begun to adjust to her new life, but nothing could prepare her for the storm Alessio could become when challenged. It started subtly. A business associate, a handsome man with a charming smile, lingered too long when meeting Sophia in the penthouse. He joked, leaned close, touched her arm lightly. Innocent, maybe, but Alessio noticed. He didn't confront her at first. He didn't need to. The tension in the room, the sharpness of his gaze, was enough to make even the boldest men hesitate. Sophia felt it too, a strange, uncomfortable heat creeping into her chest whenever Alessio entered a room. She tried to ignore it, tell herself she was annoyed, not afraid, not attracted. But that night, Alessio couldn't hold back. He cornered her near the window, city lights casting long shadows over his chiseled features. His voice was low, dangerous, shaking with emotion he rarely displayed. "You were smiling at him," he accused, stepping closer. "Do you forget who you belong to?" Sophia's heart raced. She opened her mouth, but no words came. His eyes bore into hers, dark, possessive, unyielding. She realized with a jolt that he wasn't just jealous. He was territorial, claiming not just her presence but her thoughts, her attention, her loyalty. I wasn't," she began, but he silenced her with a soft, commanding hand against her arm. "You don't get to excuse yourself," he said. "Not with me." Fear, frustration, and something more, desire maybe, collided inside her. Alessio had always been powerful, untouchable. But here in the penthouse he was exposing himself, raw and unafraid. He leaned closer, so close she could feel the heat from his body. "You are mine, Sophia. No one else touches you. No one else gets to see your smile like that. You understand?" Her throat tightened. She nodded, unsure if it was fear, relief, or something far more complicated. Alessio's lips curved slightly in a smirk, not cruel but victorious. "Good," he murmured. "Because I won't forgive anyone who tries to take what's mine. Not ever." That night, Sophia realized Alessio's love, and his possessiveness, was a storm she couldn't run from. She could resist him all she wanted, but the world and Alessio himself had other plans. The penthouse was unusually quiet that night. Sophia sat on the couch, arms wrapped around her knees, and watched Alessio as he poured himself a drink. His dark eyes caught hers, and for the first time the intensity wasn't just possessive, it was vulnerable. "You're different from anyone I've ever met," he said quietly, not a command but a confession. "You resist me. You challenge me. I don't hate it." Sophia's brow furrowed. "Why are you like this? Possessive, controlling, obsessive even?" she asked. Her voice trembled with a mixture of frustration and curiosity. He sighed, running a hand through his hair, a rare sign of weariness. "I wasn't always this man," he admitted. "I built this empire to survive, to protect myself. People tried to take what I cared about. I lost friends, family, love. I promised myself I'd never be vulnerable again." Her chest tightened. The fire behind his words was no longer just power, it was pain. "And that's why you control me?" "Yes," he said simply. "Because if I let go, if I trust, I might lose you too." His eyes softened just slightly. "You're not just another person in my life, Sophia. You're different. And I can't risk losing you. Not ever." Sophia felt something stir inside her. Understanding, compassion, and a reluctant sympathy. Behind the darkness, the possessiveness, and the mafia boss persona, there was a man shaped by fear and loss. "I didn't know," she whispered. He took a step closer, careful, almost tentative. "Most don't. But now you do. And maybe you can see me for who I really am." For the first time, Sophia didn't feel trapped by him. She felt seen. A fragile thread of trust began to form, linking her to the man who had dominated her life for weeks. Alessio extended a hand, an unspoken gesture of partnership, of connection. Sophia hesitated, then slowly took it. In that touch, a silent promise passed between them: protection, understanding, and perhaps something more. The storm of possession, fear, and desire had not passed, but for the first time Sophia glimpsed the man beneath the darkness, and realized that love in all its danger might be inevitable. Sophia was finally starting to breathe, to feel that fragile sense of safety, when the world outside reminded her it was ruthless. A late-night knock on the penthouse door shattered the quiet. Alessio, ever alert, moved first, swift, precise, every movement a predator's instinct. Sophia froze as he signaled her to stay back. Outside, the shadows shifted. Men she didn't recognize, danger in human form, were trying to breach her sanctuary. Alessio's hand went to the hidden pistol at his waist, his dark eyes flashing with controlled fury. "Stay behind me," he commanded, voice low and deadly. "And don't move." Sophia obeyed, heart hammering. She watched as Alessio transformed before her eyes, from billionaire playboy to untouchable mafia king. He disarmed threats with calculated efficiency, his every motion both terrifying and mesmerizing. Minutes felt like hours. The intruders were relentless, but Alessio was relentless too. His protectiveness, his obsession with keeping Sophia safe, had no limits. Finally, silence fell. The last intruder fled, leaving only the echo of their fear behind. Alessio turned to Sophia, chest heaving slightly, not from exertion, but from the adrenaline that surged whenever she was endangered. "You should never be out of my sight," he said softly, almost pleading, though his tone still carried authority. "You are mine, and I will not let anyone take you. Not ever." Sophia's throat tightened. Fear, gratitude, and something far deeper swirled inside her. She realized then that her life had irrevocably changed. She wasn't just part of his world, she was entwined with it. I understand," she whispered, voice trembling. Alessio stepped closer, closing the distance between them. His hand found hers, fingers interlacing tightly. "Good," he said, dark eyes burning. "Because I will fight for you. Against anyone. Against everything. And if you ever doubt me, you will see just how far I'll go." Sophia's heart raced, not just from fear but from something thrilling, intoxicating. Alessio's world was dangerous, possessive, and consuming. But she no longer wanted to escape. She wanted to stand beside him. And in that moment, amidst danger and darkness, Sophia knew she had fallen, completely and irrevocably, for the man who had claimed her as his queen. The city watched Alessio Romano with fear and reverence. But that night, all eyes were on Sophia. The grand hall of the Romano estate was filled with powerful men, dangerous allies, and silent enemies. Whispers followed her as she entered beside Alessio, her hand resting confidently in his. No longer trembling. No longer uncertain. She felt it, the shift. Alessio leaned down, his voice low, meant only for her. They need to see you. Not as my weakness, but as my strength. Sophia lifted her chin. She had spent weeks fighting her fate, resisting the man beside her. Now she understood the truth. Power wasn't just taken. It was claimed. When a rival questioned her presence, the room went still. Before Alessio could speak, Sophia stepped forward. Her voice was calm, steady, unafraid. I stand here because Alessio chose me. And because I choose him. Shock rippled through the room. Alessio's gaze burned with pride, something dangerously close to devotion. Later, when the crowd thinned and the doors closed, Alessio turned to her, hands framing her face. You had a choice, he said quietly. You always did. Sophia met his gaze, eyes fierce. And I'm making it now. She kissed him, not as a captive, not as a pawn, but as his equal. As his queen. From that night on, Sophia wasn't hidden away or controlled in silence. She ruled beside him, her presence commanding respect, her voice shaping decisions. Where Alessio was feared, she was admired. Where he ruled with strength, she ruled with wisdom. Enemies learned quickly, threatening Alessio meant facing Sophia too. And threatening Sophia meant destruction. Standing on the balcony later that night, the city spread beneath them, Alessio wrapped an arm around her. My queen, he murmured. Sophia smiled, fierce and unafraid. My king. Their love was forged in danger, bound by loyalty and sealed with fire. She had been forced into his world. But she chose to reign in it.